Hello everybody, this is Catherine and I'm here to talk about writing on English test, maybe the IELTS or the TOEFL or the TOEIC. I work at Simpson County Literacy Center and I'm an ESL teacher. So today we're going to talk about how to write for one of these English tests. So I have this presentation that I'll go through with you all. And we'll just kind of talk about what's expected on the writing test, specifically for organizing your ideas. So I wanted to make this video because organization is probably the most important aspect of your writing test. The people who are grading your test are checking to see if you can make yourself known and clearly. The people who are grading the writing test are checking to see if you can write down in English your ideas in a way that is concise and clear and makes sense, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure your organization of your essay is really, really strong. That means that it's very clear what your introduction is, where your support paragraphs are, what piece of supporting evidence you're using, and your conclusion is neat and tidy and very clear, okay? So I think where a lot of students get really freaked out or worried about writing tests is you think, well, I make spelling mistakes and I make grammar mistakes all the time. And while that is graded on this test, you know, if your spelling is completely wrong and nobody can tell what you're saying, that's different. But if your spelling is decent and your grammar is decent, really the way that you're gonna get a good grade is organizing your ideas well. So let me show you the organizational pattern that most people grading the IELTS or the TOEFL are expecting. So you're gonna want to make sure that the reader can follow your main idea and supporting details. So main idea, of course, is the most important idea. Maybe a new fact or a new perspective or an argument or an explanation of a new bit of information is your main idea. So you're going to want to make sure your main idea is very clear. They know exactly what you think and that all of the paragraphs that you write connect to that main idea. It means the reader can understand that your third paragraph supports your main idea. Your fourth paragraph supports your main idea. Everything ties in to the most important idea that you're trying to explain or argue. Okay? So the way you should organize your writing, let me move my thing up here. All right, now let's try that. So the way you should organize your writing typically is your basic 5-paragraph essay. That means the first paragraph introduces your topic and your thesis or your main idea. Second paragraph, you support your thesis with evidence, facts, and counter arguments. And you do that with your third and your fourth paragraph as well. In your fifth paragraph, you conclude the paper by restating your main points and showing how they connect to your thesis. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that this is really tight. So it's a little bit hard to explain without examples. So here's an example. Maybe you'll get this prompt on one of your tests. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? All students should be required to study art and music in secondary school. Use specific reasons to support your answer. Okay, so agree or disagree. So you're going to have to make an argument for this, okay? And you're going to have to argue for or against all students being required to study art and music in secondary school. Now, Do you have to care about this question in particular more than anything else in the world? Does this have to be your passion? No. Just take a moment, think about what side you feel like you have the most to say about, okay? So if you really strongly agree or disagree in your heart, that's good. But if you don't really know, try to think of some supporting details for agree and some supporting details for disagree. Whichever one is a little bit easier for you to come up with some support, do that one, okay? So for me, I decided to go ahead and agree. All students should have to take art and music. So my whole essay is going to be me trying to support why should every single secondary student take art or music. So I'll think about, what I want to be my introduction. So I want to say, that for my first paragraph, I want to point out being a teenager is confusing and everyone is trying to find who they are and who they want to be. And then at the end of my first paragraph, I'm going to get to my thesis. Students should be required to take art classes. So for this first paragraph, I'll have maybe 4 sentences, 5 sentences connecting this statement to this statement. Somehow in my writing, I'll connect that as teenagers are trying to find out about the world and who they are, a good way to find out who they are is to take art. So students should be required to take art. So here are some examples of possible supporting details I could use to help my reader understand why I think all students in secondary school should take some sort of art or music. So these are going to be my supporting points. My first supporting point is that art helps kids in other subjects, math and reading and that kind of thing. The next supporting point I'm going to explain is art helps kids understand themselves and other people. The next supporting detail I'm going to use is that art helps kids understand the world. And so my conclusion, my 5th paragraph, is going to be art helps kids understand their world at a deeper level and they should be required to take it. So this is how I would organize this essay. I would make sure that I know my thesis, that I know what 3 points I'm going to write paragraphs about. So I'm going to write a whole paragraph about this point. I'm going to try to use facts, maybe an anecdote from my own life. Maybe I'll try a counter argument, meaning I will try to imagine what somebody disagreeing with me would say, and I will include that in my essay. So I will include that somebody who disagrees with me might say, art does not help other subjects. It distracts. I would say, I understand this argument. I understand my opponent. However, I believe they are wrong because studies show that art helps kids with math. So you want to make sure you show the reader you understand who would disagree with you. You understand their points, but you have decided they are wrong, and here's why, okay? So as you're organizing your essay, make sure it connects well with transition words. Words like also, therefore, on the other hand. Words like this can help make it clear to your reader that you are transitioning between your thesis to your first point, to your second point, to your third point. And always remember on your essay that you want to use clear and direct language to introduce and support your ideas. So it's really tempting to try and use the biggest words you know, and try and fit in complicated sentences. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I think a lot of students stress themselves about this point, thinking that they must have the most advanced academic language. Really, what the person grading your essay is looking for is that they can understand very clearly what you're trying to say. So for example, don't say the art classes taken by students prove to be exemplary assets to the daily life of students and teachers. It's okay, but better and faster, because your test is time, is to say students who take art classes receive benefits in their daily life. Okay? So notice that the subject, students, is at the beginning. Over here, the subject, the students, is way after this introductory, the classes taken by the students, okay? This is called passive voice, and we really want to try to avoid it. Try to start every sentence with the subject and show what the subject is doing. So you want that subject verb to be as close to the beginning of the sentence as possible. Students who take art classes receive benefits in their daily life. That's much clearer and much more understandable than this big messy sentence. Okay. So remember, as you're preparing for your writing test, organize your ideas. Your first paragraph needs to be clearly what you think, what you're going to argue, or what you're going to talk about. The next 3 paragraphs, or maybe 4 if you have time, need to support this idea, and it needs to be very clear that what you're talking about in this paragraph connects to this paragraph. What you're talking about here connects here. Okay? Using transition words can really help with that, to make sure that you're showing the reader that you're going from this idea to a new idea to a counter argument back to your idea and then concluding it. Okay? So really, really work on organizing. Make sure that when you write, it's very clear, very short, and that you are not trying to force complicated vocabulary in. And you should do great. Okay? So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to show you some more examples here in a second. But if you have any time, check out our Facebook and our website, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.